Good evening, family. This is Bliss on the Spot. I'm Will Milton.
Ricoh Scott.
Sandy Paradiselady.
Carolyn, Victorian.
We got special guest, Marc Evans. What's
What's
up,
good?
Marc?
Hey, what's up, family? It's good to see you all. It's really good.
Hey.
Good to see you.
It's been too
So,
long.
we were speaking backstage, right? And, saying it's been like 4 years since we all gotten together, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, I just want to say that I appreciate all that you've done for our music industry, our culture.
Oh, thank you, brother. I appreciate being a part of it. It's a beautiful culture. It's very communal. I fell into it, like I always tell the story about the fact that I was at Morgan State studying chemistry pre-med, and then sang in the choir, and that's been like when Pope and OG were spinning house music every weekend on 88.9 on the what's it called, the Underground Experience.
Yep.
And I just it was just so much love in that music and that genre. It was all about all inclusive. It was always positive and good vibes. So I just kind of fell in love with it. Like, I was a jazz cat, an R&B jazz dude who just kind of fell in love with being able to touch the world and being touched by the world through that genre of music. So yeah, it's now one of my homes.
Nice.
Now, did you land onto that radio station by accident, or did like somebody introduce you to that station?
It was just part, when you're in Morgan, it's part of the culture. Like, the 80, when it's the good thing about college and independent radio is they play the good music, like not the mainstream, not what has to be played or what's whether it's chips or pay for play, whatever. But they play the good stuff, the independent stuff, the underground stuff, the stuff that the people, like, it's called the voice of the community. The station is called the voice of the community, and that really is what it is. Like, in house music, really, the underground hip hop, house music, the jazz was all our music. So I call it a divine invitation. It found its way to me, and I follow the call, like.
That was your first introduction to house music. That at that moment.
Yeah, I mean, outside of like mainstream, like whatever, like what was it, Robin S, the big stuff, like when in the 80s, 90s, when labels were pushing house, but the underground stuff, like the underground, the tribal stuff. The garage, I mean, all that underground, really, the deep stuff, the soulful house and the gospel house is where it really was.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So Pope and OG, they're pretty much, would you say they're responsible for the introduction of house music?
I give them that credit whenever I get a chance to. Whenever I talk about how I, I mean, like I got on as an artist. My career came through my work with Spin. Through Irvin Madden, one of the bass player from the Motherfuckers. He's part of my regular R&B soul band in Baltimore. He's my bass player. Like, now we still work together now, like almost 30 years now.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's been almost 30 years. Yeah. But like, he brought me in for some session work. I did background on the Byron Sting the Cut with Spin, and that led to me, let me write something for you guys. And the first thing I wrote was The Way You Love Me, and that led to a whole, as I said, the rest was history. But it was Pope and OG playing, every Saturday night I was tuned into the Audio Infusion on 88.9 to hear whatever they were playing, like, whether I was on campus or even after when I left, when I was working and when I'm driving home. Like, nothing like when you drive home at night from wherever you're going and you get to your house and you park, but the music is so good, you start the car back up and go for another drive back on the Beltway because the music is just taking you. I can't get out of the car. I just let me go ride this thing out. So I literally would spend, pretty much the whole night with them guys on the weekends, from what they were playing.
Mm. Now, the Motherfunkins, that's a Baltimore camp?
That was so when Spin left, when Spin and the producers like Gary Hudgens, the keyboard player, and Irv Madden, when they left Basin Boys to do their own thing, Gary Dean was there with them. They left to do their own thing. The Motherfunkers was their project. It was it was very much like a conglomerate. It was like they were producers and very much funk infused, but because both Hudge and Irvin are in their 60s, so these cats they were there when funk was new. They were playing it when they were teenagers, and so they brought that element to it. And in Spin, of course, was hip hop and R&B and house, and so that their sound was very unique because it was authentically funk. They drew upon all the classics, and they knew all those licks and those grooves to interpret them, or kind of to lay them and lace that house that the four on the floor with authentic funk sounds, and then And that whole project was a project and production team prior to me coming into it. So I was blessed to be a part of it as a writer and session singer, and then becoming part of the Motherfunkers. You know, it was the producers and the vocalists, myself, Sheila Ford, Biblical, then even Irv's daughter, Aaron Madden, who performs as Phoenix. We were the voices of the Motherfunkers for all the vocal work there. So it's now, unfortunately, it's now defunct. It's the music, the catalog is there, it's history. But some things happened operationally and internally that made that project had to end. It had to because of what happened at the time. But that was clearly a huge part of me having the opportunity, and I wrote some of my best work was during that 3 or 4 years we just hunkered down and writing good music.
Was it because you were hungry?
Oh, definitely. I'd always wanted the opportunity. I think in the early 2000s, I was pursuing label deals, and I was the R&B soul dude at a time when hip hop was becoming so commercial, like when rap and gangster rap, labels, because like I always likened myself to a pro ball player who plays in France. Like, I couldn't sign the NBA, so like because what happened was like in the 90s when hip hop got so big, the labels dropped house and dance artists, and it all went overseas. So I'm playing basketball in France, so I'm like I'm hooping in Italy somewhere because I can't get on the NBA in the US. So you go where the work is, you go where the opportunity. If you're appreciated somewhere and you can shine, it's like I'm big fish in a smaller pond. I had a bigger opportunity over there.
Yeah. Now back to the project. Ron Hall is from Chicago, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it appears from a credential standpoint that Ron Hall is the primary person that's responsible for that project, and Motherfunkins are like the co-producers. Like, can you talk about that?
Yeah, what it was is Ron Hall, I guess I sent a track to those guys. I guess he had the idea of sampling and drawing upon the Teddy Pendergrass sound, for that track. But like I said, I just done work for I did background session for Byron Stingley for It's All Jesus. They had me like singing other stuff. I'm like, let me write something for you guys because I'm getting this. I feel like I can write something. Like I got some because I'm 30 at the time, 36, 35. I had some life and love experiences. I had some stories I could tell. So let me write something for you guys. That's not just do ABC flowers and moons and stuff. Let me write some. So I wrote the song The Way You Love Me. He gave me the track. I said, what do you have in mind for it? Ben said, he gave me the hook. I'm loving the way that you love me, and that's okay. And so from there, I literally sat. There's a coffee shop that used to be in Charles Village called Xando or Zando. It was at the corner of like Charles and 32nd, right across from Hopkins undergrad campus. And I was sitting there with my kids. We're outside the coffee. I'm having coffee. They're having chocolate hot cocoa and cookies, whatever. And I had the session at 4:00, so I got there like at 3 and penned the song and went by and we pretty much used the first take of the first time we sang it through. We went back and did some overdubs and some recuts, but the foundation was there in the first take of it. So like literally, Ron Hall was the producer on it for the track itself, but nothing to do with the writing of the song. That happened with my pen, Spin's hook idea, and us in the studio.
But how did that collaboration come about? Being that they're from two different states, the
thing with house music is it's all about collaboration. It's all about reaching out. Someone says I have an idea, and like a lot of what I had to learn the hard way is there's a lot of when you're a label or producer, there's a lot of I do something for you, something for me. There's not an exchange of money up front. It's more like on the back end of writing, points, the whole thing. So I had to learn the hard way that you got to give a little away to get the bigger opportunity. Because I was independent. I had everything I'd done my indie R&B, soul, neo soul albums were all my own production, or I paid somebody for tracks, and so I owned all of that. So I had to learn to let go of having 100% of a smaller, again, that smaller pond, or when you're independent, I have it all out of my trunk. I'm selling it at shows, but to become part of a team, you had to let go and become now I'm a collaborator. Now I'm a partial. I don't own the whole thing, but I own a part of it. But it gets me into a bigger platform. So, it was. They tend to produce and share. Like I'll remix for you if you got a track for me. So there was, I guess, Ron Hall and Spin were talking about something in the Motherfunkers, and they brought me in to write the lyric for it and do the vocals. So it was featuring me because I was the writer, and ironically, I was paid as a session artist on that song, and not a writer primarily. It took up a lot to get some credits on the back end because you had to pay me the session. They paid me to do lead and background vocals, and I got no parts of the initial licensing and the business up front. It was the opportunity. So, that was new and green. So yeah, I'm like, sure, whatever, it's fine. I just want to make music. I want to take the gift given to me and share it with the world in any way I can.
Yeah.
So
because
was
You saying? I'm sorry.
No, it was just that was them who invited me into the song. So it really was a featuring Mark Evans, because I wasn't a part of the original conversation. But thankfully, and it was a blessing to be able to become the conversation, and that led to Defective. Well, first it was Hustle Records. Who was it? I can't remember his name. DJ Neil Pierce had picked up the single on Hustle, and then Defected bought it from him, bought the rights from him. And then came back. We want another song from that guy. So I think if the Motherfuckers had a project, they were working on a full album. They were working on, and I in a way threw a wrench into it. I kind of threw a curveball, which became a big opportunity for us all, because that led to Defector saying, "Hey, let's do it. Let's while this guy is hot, while the song is hot, let's capitalize that." And that became a second single, became a third single, became an album deal, and a year later a remix album deal. So yeah, that's how that worked out.
Yeah, because the that track was licensed so many times, and we know that we depend on those licensing fees because they're pretty big, especially if it's constantly getting licensed. Now, how did you feel about Dimitri remixing that song?
I think Dimitri's when I felt like I really had a real song, like, and no disrespect like to the four and the straight house thing. But Dimitri made it feel like an old 70s disco record. Like, he invested big money and took it to Philly and gave it authentic strings. And like, it felt like I was getting my best Teddy, very, very, very white. Like it felt like a real record, not a DJ's mix. I felt like I feel like even then it had more potential than they limited to just the dance category. It could have crossed over to adult contemporary easily. As a disco anthem, I feel like it should have gotten bigger opportunities, and I didn't control that part of it. So even though you speak of all the licensing being licensed over and over again, I'm still only paid as a session writer and a part owner. So I never got any of that licensing, which is that was the hardest lesson. Later on down the line, I was like, wait a minute, this song's on like 200 albums, on 200 compilations, so it's always getting licensed again. I don't see that part. Yeah. That's been the hardest part of the learning. That was the hardest lesson to learn. But again, the opportunity, the blessing is I have a song that is a legacy that my family knows about, and that it'll be played for long after I'm gone. And I'm I got a piece of it, and my kids will get whatever whatever comes down the road for the royalties. This is left to the family. So, but no, just as I've gone forward, I've learned to negotiate better, smarter, and make sure I get a piece of what's going on. So
Marc,
I see Paul. Yes.
Paul Casson from Chicago he's got a question. Knowing what you know now, what would you have changed? Would you have changed anything? Sorry.
Definitely. What's up, Paul? Peace to you, brother. And everybody tuned in. Appreciate you guys. It was like I said, the hardest lesson was learning as an artist. You're eager to get on, to get your opportunity, to get heard. And I was always live before I was studio. So even studio was a hard transition for me. I'm used to the energy from a live audience, that in the moment stuff. But because I was so excited about the opportunity, I was working on a deal directly with a label, because they had offered me a production deal through the Motherfuckers, through Code Red. So it was one of the things where I had an opportunity to sign either to them or to the label, but it would take them longer and more work, and and I was afraid to lose the moment and the opportunity. So knowing what I know now, I would have waited out for the for a direct deal with the label, because then I have more control of how I move, what happens with my work. Because even like what happened later on is the label bought the entire Code Red catalog. So and the way royalties and payment works out is, as a body of work, they're paid off the profit of the body, not the individual parts of it. So like where some things at times my work did better than the whole, and we would have seen, or I would have seen, more direct financial gain from it if I was separate from the entity, when it was, because the whole thing you're paid on what the whole thing. That's kind of how it broke down. So I would definitely have waited out and worked harder for the independence. Like, I would have sought more counsel. I had an attorney I was talking to, but I would have sought more counsel in the and again, I didn't have access to those who had the experience at the time, or everything wasn't. Oh, and they weren't all forthcoming with all the information. I just, without saying anybody's name, everyone wasn't upfront about how the business works. So that's been yeah.
Today's there's no excuse if you get jerked because everything's available to you online.
Right,
it's
right.
Like,
so, yeah.
you know, back then you needed the lawyer, you needed the management to guide you. But being that the recording industry business model has changed, would you still today sign with a record label? Because that would be, you're saying that's what you would have done back then, but would you do that still today? Being that the model has changed.
I mean, now knowing, the label usually is looking for, because you're a source of income for the label. That's the reality of it all. So, going forward, I negotiate so that I know that I'm going to win as well. That's just, and it's, you know, it's win-win or no deal. If we're not all winning, you know, how much do I have to give away and keep giving away? You know, because we know with the whole thing with Spotify, with this whole thing currently going on with Spotify, we know that they pay artists a much smaller amount than they pay names or whatever the thing is. I mean, that's how the label's always been. I mean, you know, if we hear the stories about all the greats having to fight for their music, like, you know, like Ray Charles and Aretha Franklin and Tina Turner having to go back and forth and it buy, sell, or like, you know, you at least in the end, like Tina Turner in the end she sold it, but she got paid for it late in the end. But like, you know, is that struggle? Yeah. Prince went through the whole thing, like, well, the label, you feel like a slave because you do all this work and they still own your name and your music. And like even like now, if I want to do something with the project, if I want to take and get this out, I have to bootleg myself because I can't get copies.
Oh.
They're not pressing it anymore. So like literally, I go online like eBay and I find record shops in the UK and I buy my albums from small shops when I can find it, just to have it to share at shows or share with my family. If I sell it to somebody at a festival, because I may find 50 of them and I may sell them. I won't make a profit, but I'm able to get my product in someone's hand that maybe opens the door for the opportunity, or that builds my brand and my presence somewhere else. Mm-hmm. That moment of influence is huge. Labels don't do as much pressing of product anymore, but as I tell artists who are independent, especially performing artists, is the best thing you can do is step off stage and have product, because they want you in that moment. If you say, okay, when you get a chance, go find me when you get a chance to control it. Because look, I'm right here. Support me. Buy it right now. Buy a copy of it. You know, whether it's merchandise in music form or it's a T-shirt. But when you have that moment of influence from you stepping off stage and you're hot, oh my God, I love what you do. I want to support you. Make sure they can find you on the internet, on the web, and make sure you try to have them walk with a piece of you in that moment. So I still find and buy my CDs when I can. I can't publish myself, so I'd have to bootleg myself to sell my CDs of my own music that I wrote. That I wrote all the lyrics except for the 2 covers in that album. I wrote every lyric on that album, and the remix album, and I've done other stuff with other labels, other artists as well. But I'm a writer. Like, you know, we covered a Bobby Womack tune on that album. Was it If You Want My Lovin'? That was one we covered. That one, I think that was it. On the first album, we covered 1 tune. Everything else is my songs that I wrote. Yeah. But I don't own
now it. on the track, you know, The Way You Love Me. Who's doing the backgrounds?
That's I'm me and Jada. You know, Jada. Jada Davis. Is it? I gotta look it up real quick. Jada, who is an amazing, you know, Baltimore-based artist, is a dancer and singer, songwriter, and producer. And it's Jada Davis. Jada was actually part of Alternate Tay's team. She's gone out and she's danced with, like, you know, Justin Timberlake. She's done dancing major concerts with Justin Timberlake. But that raspy, that beautiful female vocal, that raspy thing, that sweetness, she adds that. She just it's like, you know, it's just salt bathe that thing. That thing, that rasp, that's Jada.
That hook, though.
Yeah.
You know, when I first heard the song, actually, I don't know if you're familiar with Arnold Jarvis, but I thought it was Arnold Jarvis at first. And I kept saying, you know, you got the new Arnold Jarvis track, and I'm like, but it was you.
Yeah.
Tell us about the recording process of that song. Like, how long did it take?
Well, I mean, that song, I said that song didn't take long at all, because like literally after writing the song, I went in the studio. My kids were literally in the front of the like the lobby area of the room playing on Xbox, whatever, while I was recording. I was there for maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours to lay the vocals down, lay the backgrounds down. And of course, you come back and you once because it was the first take, so it was the foundation, establishing melody, chorus, and singing my parts, my harmonies, and then you come back and Jada came in afterwards for post production. She came back in, and I came back in and recut lead vocals. And Spin said we actually ended up using all the first takes, so that all the passion energy was in the first take. So it was literally it was a 2-3 hour song to get done for me vocally.
Even writing in your facility?
No, this is in Baltimore at Code Red Studios. The studio.
Code Red, good old Code Red.
Yeah, the home of the Butterfunkers.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Were there certain parts that didn't make that song?
Not to my knowledge. So the thing, I didn't have control of the production and the engineering. So I was there to write, record. I sang my parts, make sure before I left, I liked what I'd laid down. And then when I came back in post production, was them adding more guitars except it went as a 4 on the floor, and Jada came in and laid vocals and added the sweetness to it. And then I was a 4 on the floor on Hustle Records, and then on Defected. And Demetri came back around. Demetri took it to Philadelphia and put real money into it and made it a record.
Amazing.
Not a track, but he made it to a record.
Build it out.
Yeah. He gave it authentic. It felt like an old. I'm like, wow. It sounds like an old, late 70s, early 80s disco record. I feel like I got a real. This is me. This is a real song. This sounds like some stuff I grew up listening to.
It sounded like the Philly Sound Machine.
Yeah, exactly. That's
what he was pumping out of Philly, seemed like you went back in time and pulled some of that back.
Yep,
it's
Demetri,
definitely
as a historian, went to Philly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I'm quite blessed and happy to be able to have done that.
So how did you know at that time that the song was done? Like when you wrote and cut the vocal, how did you know? This is it.
I feel like I delivered. I got the point across. I was writing at the time from a place of fantasy. Some of my best songs weren't written while I was actually actively in love. It's either while I was coming out of it and remembering it and missing it, and this is how I know how I want it to be, how it should be, how it felt at this time, and what we didn't get to. But I felt like I told the story. I'd made it very clear what I longed to be able to experience and share, and in full. And I felt like it was all out there. That's the hard thing as an artist to let go and to stop. I'll say like visual artists. How do you know when that last brushstroke is okay? No, I need one more spot here. I'm not let me smudge this. How do you know? I felt like I'd done what I needed to do. I mean, there are tracks where I feel like I could have done that better. As Carolyn probably speaking as an artist, or Ricoh, right? When you walk away, I feel like I could have done, or I should. They left that note in there.
Reflection.
It's reflection. Something later.
You're singing a song based on reflection, but then in the moment you don't know if you covered it all.
Mm-hmm.
So when you walk away from it, or you think you could let your baby walk on its own, you always think I could have put something else into it.
Oh, that little stumble. She didn't fall, but the stumble.
That stumble.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's that reflection.
Right. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
that song, and then I guess we can just kind of move on. Is a song of gratitude. It's a very family orientated. A man who's just appreciating, just giving gratitude for things in life. Was that your intent for the?
Yeah. I felt at that point I was 34. I wrote the song in 2004, so I was 30, 33, 34. I had my share of relationships. Hadn't been married yet, but I did have kids, and I had these long term, I feel like I'd never quite gotten to where I wanted to be in my relationships. And the honestly, like being young, be afraid of dealing with whatever fears and issues or hangups I had. Because in the Black community, we don't talk about it. We don't go to therapy. It took me going to therapy much later on in life to I'm okay being who I am. It's okay to have faults and address them and not be afraid of who you are, and accept that I did the best I could do at that time was how I felt. And there's a lot of growth and learning that happens since then. So I've always wanted to be the man in that song. I want the love in that song. I know I have it in me, and I've been able to live it in moments in my life. And like I'm now 51. I'm looking forward to finding. I'm not afraid. I'm not, right.
Yo, I'm 30.
Oh my God!
I'm 30.
I hear you, brother. I hear you. Right.
That's very interesting because that's the guy that I met at Peace and a Cup of Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So I met the guy that not just wrote that song, but is actually living in the essence of that. That's the guy that I met.
Yeah,
Amazing.
So
Well done.
It's a blessing. Wrote it into my reality.
You did. Yes, speaking it into existence.
Manifestation. Manifestation.
So like
So Mark, who are some of the recording artists that have inspired you? I think of Lou Rawls. I think of so many different artists. That's just me, but who inspires?
How long is this podcast? Because I'm from Baltimore. Both my parents are musicians, so I literally grew up on music. My father is from the Spindles, which is a regional, amazing jazz, funk, soul band. Come on, brother. Come on, Paul. I see you right there. I'm
All right, Paul.
I'm on your heels, brother. I'm on your heels.
But you little youngins around here.
But I grew up with my mom. My mom's a vocalist and violinist and painter. My dad's a saxophone player. So I'm literally a child of music. That they were kids back in the 70s, and I was born in 1970 into a music family. So I grew up listening to Carly Simon, Captain and Tennille, George Benson, like one of my favorites, who was able to have success in pop, jazz, and R&B. Effortlessly, just across the genres. But my biggest influences were Nat King Cole, as a balladeer, Luther Vandross, Donny Hathaway, who I think was the most convincing. He's the most believable singer I've ever heard before. He just sang. No matter what he's saying, I feel like I believe whatever you say, I believe because you're so passionate in your delivery and So just
he sang the theme song to Maud.
What was that? Oh, the Marc.
I said he sang the theme song to Maud. Remember the television show Maud?
I remember Maud.
The lady from the Golden Girls.
I know B. Arthur. Yeah. I gotta go.
When he sang the theme show to Maud,
let me bookmark that right now. I don't remember the song.
Everybody came out in the street and danced.
So now I got to find that because I remember Maud, and I'm a huge fan of B. Arthur and the Golden Girls, but I never
listen to it.
I got to bookmark Maud. I didn't know. So
that's Donny Hathaway.
But Donny, and then of course McFerrin and Vinks for jazz and jazz improv. Cats are really drawn to. In terms of writers, people like Sting and Sade were beautiful and melodic, but they were very intellectual, and it was very spiritual. I felt like they always sat atop mountain somewhere and wrote these songs to these sunsets. There was so much color in their writing. And in fact, I took a few years as an artist, as a performance poet, to be a better lyricist. The thing is that when you can sing, the radio is full of singers, but they usually ain't saying nothing because they just. That's what the industry pushes out as music when it's not really, but the artists are amazing vocalists. So I said, let me take some time. I was part of a poetry troupe, and I was just let me just do it. Let me focus on my lyrics where there's color and you can taste and see. And I'm pulling you into a scene, and you can relive those emotions with me when I'm writing. So I wonder if I'm not singing, what am I saying? That's very important. I took time to be a writer who actually wrote with intention. And with purpose and told stories and touched. These are all. There's no new human experience, and we're all telling our stories and our desire and our desires for ourselves, for the world. Our fears. Those are all part of this human experience. So,
do you feel poetry and songwriting are in the same caliber?
Indeed. I'd always call poems word songs and word rhythm because it's still storytelling. It's still.
Absolutely.
Whether it's rhyming or not, it's the whole thing is to draw you in, and if you close your eyes and you can see and feel the colors and taste and smell the smells of that story if they do it the right way. If you've had experiences and you understand language, like literally just, it can draw you in that way. So I think it's very good to not know, because even like music melodically, there's emotion, and those tones evoke emotions and memories and feelings. So those vibrations, they touch us. So it's all very much so. The lyric is as important as the music.
Gotcha. You mentioned just a lot of jazz influence. Was tempo like ever a challenge for you when you began recording dance house music?
Not really, because I'm still singing like I'm still singing R&B tunes. It's just that it's at 120 or 124, 128, whatever. It's I'm still riding. Okay, so yeah, I'm still riding it like an R&B tune. I'm still singing this. I'm really just an R&B soul singer who's just singing love songs you can dance to. That's really what it is. It's just,
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because at a slower tempo, you got more room to play with the melodies.
If you took those songs and played them at half tempo, I mean, the drum at least, the chords are there. It's all the chords are still the chords, and the warmth in the chords and the vocals are all still doing the same thing. So
yeah. What's your favorite performance, Mike?
Performance mic. I don't really have I don't have a favorite microphone. I mean the commons are like there's the Shure SM58. But there's something about the I prefer more so the sound. I like warmth and not a lot of reverb. I like a drier, warmer mic. So I don't like it unless you're doing an effect. I hate when it's like this ambient when your voice gets away from you.
Well, I mean, today's music, that's all it is effects. It's they drown out the vocals. Now, when you're in a recording studio, do you switch off mics like with a blue rhythm mic or
no? It's whatever it is. It's a matter of getting the warmth. Like I trust my in Baltimore, the engineer I've been using for the last probably 15 years is Marc over at Street Legal Entertainment. Like everything I've done that was house and my R&B indie stuff. I've done it with him. I was in there for a hip hop project. I was working with a hip hop artist, and I was doing hooks and singing stuff and writing stuff. And we had such a good chemistry. That's that. So my next step is I was doing stuff with Spin, and then I was doing stuff with DJ Greg Lewis, kind of thing. So, but I was like, let me just I made my own space so I can actually negotiate my business and not have to go through them to get paid. I'm like, hey, you want to work with me? Just hit me and send me the track, and I'll record here. So Marc knows my voice and my sound. I walk in there, he's like, let's get the thing, so let's get the warmth, So I don't really have a technical preference as much as I have a tonal or sonic preference. I want the warmth to be there. I want the timbre to come through. I want to be clean, but I don't want a lot of effect and reverb. I like to hear me because I'm so used to because I'm a live performer, and I perform live at cafes and small spaces without microphones for years. So I had to get used to the microphone, and the studio I had to get used to it in the studio when I'm not used to not having to be perfect. It's about the energy. So I'm used to performing with people. So
gotcha. So Kevin Foshee wants to know, do you make your own tracks to sing?
No, I'm not a producer. No, I'm a writer. I write melodies and lyrics. I hear music and I write songs as well, but I don't play. I mean, I play a little guitar and I can bang stuff out on the keyboard, but I'm not a composer or a producer. I'm a composer in terms of song. I don't play everything.
That's interesting because you come from a musical background, a playing background. So
yeah. And I fell into it. Like honestly, I literally stumbled into it. I didn't know that I had the gift until I was in my senior year in high school.
Wow.
And, when they have the holiday concert for this, the Christmas concert, and they had they had each class do a presentation. So I was a senior at Southwestern in Southwest Baltimore, and they were like, okay, you're going to sing this one song, and Dr. Bill Cummings was the music director, the music director at our school, who was an amazing vocalist and pianist, very, very, very Nat King Cole influence, and he ended up being a cop and teaching as well. But I sang like what was it? Chestnuts, the Christmas song, and I never sung anything Like I was in a rap group in the 80s. I was in a breakdance group. I was the beatboxer. I did all that stuff. And he was like, we're doing the concert. We were practicing. He's like, how are you in your last year of school here? And I've never heard you before. So I didn't even know I could think. I just was doo-wopping in the hallways, like New Edition, whatever the kids were singing, whatever we were singing as kids.
Yeah.
So I literally I went to Morgan State. I was going for chemistry pre-med. And remember the 80s, Hands Across America? The choir did the Morgan State choir did Hands Across Morgan one day in the yard. Like, everybody, it was like all about this whole thing, the movement, the justice, and the peace, trying to get this peace going. I was like, wow, I loved hearing them. And I said, I want to join the choir. And that literally was how it happened. It was the fall of '88. I was on my first semester at Morgan State, and I joined the choir and fell in love with it. And my whole thing from chemistry and medicine switched to music and performance. And I stayed on the choir for like 6 or 7 years. Like, even after I left, I still stayed and toured and got to go to the Caribbean with the choir and travel. Like, so it was exposure to gospel, classical, big band, all this stuff, Negro spirituals that I'd never had that experience before. So I was a second bass, second bass. I sang bass in the choir. And of course, I didn't know I was a bass. Dr. Carter said, I got you. Everything in the radio was always tenor. I was always trying to sing People Bryson and Jeffrey Osborne, and I was struggling, but I was trying to sing all that stuff. He said, no, you're right here. You got a range, but this is you right here. So I sang bass. And then of course, later on, top 40 things. But yeah, it was I took piano and vocal, but never pursued it. Like I'm a lazy musician, because I can hear it, and I was frustrated because I couldn't do what I could hear. I could hear beyond what I could do. So I can hear all this stuff, and I can write music. I can hear it. So I communicated them with the band, and I'm able to do that way. But I don't.
Speaking of songwriting,
yeah.
Speaking of songwriting, what makes you a strong songwriter?
I guess I'm strong because partially by choice, because I care about the integrity of the song. I want because as a writer for hire, I definitely have known I have done songs just to get the song. So I'm like, hey, can we get you on? Can I get you on the song? Can I pay you? I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. And I'm not always inspired by the track. You guys can probably speak to this as well. Like, sometimes it gets monotonous. So it's the same thing. I need something else to write about. So conversation for me as a writer, I can write on demand, but the best songs write themselves. Even I have songs that I've written, recorded, produced, and not released with other producers as well as my own. I'm always, in my head, I'm always 3 albums behind in my head. I got music in my head forever, but like some of the best songs just come when I wrote My Heart Remembers with Ndinga, that was on the spot. We were in the studio, and Ndinga played this chords and this bass line. Dun, 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 dun. I was like, the chords, and I was like, oh. Eyes have never seen this sunset, but my heart remembers deja vu when I look at you, and my heart remembers. It's like returning to a dream I've had. We were so happily in love, the leading lady in my fairy tale. Don't wake me up from this because that song was a 20-minute song. Oh, thank you.
So how do you decide on a project when to go baritone and when to go like soprano? Like, because right now you're known for your baritone, but right now you're pretty much more in that.
That's the tenor and sweeter. I mean, it's really funny because I got known for the big voice because of the screaming at the way you let me, the big voice, and like what happened, like Mark, and I would do songs like no, we want the big voice, Mark, we want your big voice, like do your scream thing. I'm like, okay, and after doing the album, I was like, yo, I know where I could sing all these songs at a concert. I can't sing for 45 minutes. I mean, that'd be one concert, and that'd be all I could do for that weekend. I'd be good for because I worked in top. I've done top 40. When I'm out, I do Zeppelin, I do Hendrix, I do scream, I do blues, funk, rock. I sing. And when I first left my job, because I signed the label to Defected, and I was like doing this music thing, and I'm like, yo, I was full-time music, and 2 months in, I lost my voice because now I left my job and I was relying on my music. So I was hustling. I was hitting 3-4 nights a week, and I'm screaming in the back. I used to smoke cigarettes and drink a lot back then. In the bars, you get free drinks, and I quit smoking like 11 years ago. I started smoking at 33 and stopped at like 41. So I smoked for 8 years. It was stress and a girlfriend who influenced them. Like, oh, we go. I'll find you something, baby. I'll find you something because I would smoke like weed. I would smoke weed socially. Like I wasn't a pothead, but I would with some friends. And somebody had clove cigarettes one day, and they were so aromatic. I'm like,
Oh Lord.
I was smoking cigarettes.
Chi-Town Clove.
And so I lost my voice. It was the scariest thing because I've always had it, and I'm now a full-time artist, and I lost my voice 2 months in. So I had to go to ear, nose, throat doctor. Stress and strain. So I had to learn. But I'm an R&B. I'm a balladeer, but at heart, jazz is my first love. I could sing ballads and standards all night long. I always feel like everything that I do, I'm cheating on jazz. Jazz is my everything else. My house is my little side situation. Neo soul was, But I could sit and just I always say that if I had my choice of the career that I'd be doing, like what Greg Porter's doing, that whole Greg Porter thing, I literally would be. Because he's like our generation. He's like our Bill Withers. He's jazz, blues, gospel, and soul, and that's where I love to be. It's that. Yeah. But so I got to do that. I'm doing that. I started doing over house music. So people love the big voice, but I'm a smooth. My neo soul stuff is very like Brian McKnight and like Dwelle, that smooth mellow thing. Yeah. I give. Go ahead.
I give you and Kenny Bobian a lot of salutes on that, because to sing tenor throughout, and if they're asking for that, if that's like your market, whereas Kenny Bobian, it's not easy to sing falsetto, but that was the market for Kenny. That they like, we don't want the low version, Kenny. We want the falsetto, So I give you a lot of stripes for that, because it's not easy doing that.
Thank you.
It's not.
I had to fight for it. I had to fight for certain songs. Like we're gonna do this song. We're gonna see how it goes. Like I literally, I got Crescent Moon onto the House album, but I had to. The only way I got a ballad onto my House album was like, if you agree, we'll do a House remix of it, and we'll put the ballad at the end. And then when I was in Germany at the Baltic Soul Weekender in 2009, the first time I'd gone there, did a whole set of my stuff. I'm doing all the house stuff. And I said, I'm just gonna take a break it down. We're gonna break it down. We're gonna do the ballad version of the song. It's an orchestra. It's like a horn section, the strings. So right in the middle of me doing like all the house stuff, I said I'm gonna break it down for a second and just to kind of share something with you guys. And I did the ballad, and they were like, it was quiet, and this huge wave of like, because they were like, hey, he's not doing the house thing. Like, wait a minute. The room got quiet, and they tuned in, and like Kenny Burke, Kenny Burke, from now.
Keep rising to the top.
Yeah. He was there. He's like, brother, you got something. He's like, there's a little tear in my eye. When you get one of the elders, one of the veterans, they're like, yo, when you broke it down, that was powerful. I was like, wow. So thank you.
Yeah.
But I had to fight to get a song on the album.
So what were you doing before the music industry?
I mean, I've been in retail for 30 years now. So I've been in beauty and fashion. Like I worked for Aveda and like Banana Republic. I've been with Aveda Estee Lauder for like 20 years. So I've always done. It was fashion in high school, and like through high school, I'd worked in retail stores. That's what managing. So they gave me a good career that I could jump in and out of that had benefits. And the good thing about it, if you leave on good terms, like I left my job for my deal with Defected to be a full-time artist. I left on good terms. You cross bridges, you don't burn them. And pursued the career.
Why'd you leave them? Why did you leave Defected?
It wasn't my choice. That they had to follow up with Code Red. So I think things that weren't in my control were my label deal, my publishing. I had to fight for publishing rules, and I'm still in battle with that. Not legally, but like I'm still working on registration things, because when you trust the people you're working with, we're going to register. Here, what's your name, information, credit, and like it didn't always go that way. And somehow Code Red had a fallout with Defected, so that whole catalog that Defected owns. I mean, there's money tied up, there's paperwork tied up, and they had a fallout. So because I was under the umbrella of production, my deal fell out with everything else. So if I had signed directly, I'd have more control over how we negotiate and how we make things work out. But those things I learned. I've been independent and as a freelance artist for the last 10 years, and I've been able to work with Stephen Stone. I've done 2 albums with Stephen Stone. I've done. Work with a lot of other producers. I've just been blessed to be able to work and write with. Nice. Jamie Lewis and I've done a handful of work, and I just recently did a jazz thing. Like we did a remake of like New York, Frank Sinatra, big jazz tune, big standard, like a rehousing of a New York thing. That's maybe for the next. I don't know what's gonna come out. Because I have work that's been done. That's just waiting to be released or whatever that is. But I'm always working. I'm always writing.
Do you feel like, when you work with various producers, you have to constantly adjust or switch? Like certain territories have a certain sound, like overseas, their sound is.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that they typically they reach out to me because they like something that I've done, so looking for something from me. So if we can, as I always say, I'm always interested in working and work with artists, producers who want to create music, who are open. I'm looking for new ideas, new inspirations, and everything that's submitted to me doesn't work out because I don't always find something in that song, or the business doesn't always work out. But I'm always open to finding something to work on and being inspired. So I have lots of styles within the genre and outside the genre.
Nice.
I have like 3 R&B. I have a live acoustic album with me and the guitar player and the beatbox. Carolyn knows us from Acoustic Thursdays. But also I've got 2 studio albums. Like one's contemporary jazz, R&B, very rolled down and grimy, like my first album, and then the other was like very much like straight neo soul with hints of rock and hip hop on it.
Gotcha. How during the pandemic, how did you manage to stay relevant? Still working?
Yeah. I was still like thankfully because I have so much of a live based family. I have live performances here at home. We just switched from. I have a residency at Creative Alliance, a nonprofit in Baltimore. I had this series going for 2 years called Baltimore Plays, where my band would back up various artists, and we do iconic works of music like The Wiz, Schoolhouse Rock. We did a whole Lauryn Hill, Fugees tribute. We did Motown. So I would do a seasonal concert. So because of that relationship, they were a nonprofit. They're trying to make sure the artists are still working. They say, hey, we got an idea for like sidewalk serenade. So they say, we're going to book you guys for like literally pop-up concerts. So like on a Sunday, we do on the hour, 12 to 6 p.m. We different address, pop up, do a half an hour concert, go to the next house. Like so, Kevin Chuck and I, Kevin Irv and I will go out and do these concerts. And then like I was able to do a few virtual festivals where I would just play tracks and I Live with Jay up in Canada, and that was international. Like it was all these different like indie artists on there. Omar was on it. It was like an amazing just series of artists international that was all done like a virtual concert. A few other, live streaming podcasts I've been able to do. And again, like because we've been performing, I've had a live band for 25 years. We just we've always done backyard concerts and front porch concerts. Like I started booking that same way. So we kept it outside. We did festivals, outdoor things, and I was still writing and recording. Just wasn't to do. I did less recording because I was trying to stay out of random studios with high traffic for myself, myself and my family safety.
So tell us, like, what goes into like what, as far as like work, putting a band together? Because I can imagine, like, when I think of a band, you have various singers, and sometimes you have to deal with just some attitude, egos, energy. Mm-hmm. How do you manage all that? Because everybody wants to be, put their input into it. Like, how do you keep it together?
Well, it's been a lesson learning. I started the band back in '93 with a buddy of mine, Bobby Blackwell, and I started our first. We were new artists who wanted to play, and when you're new, you can't. It's kind of hard. People don't hire a new band. They've got to know. So you got to have a rapport. You have a following. Like everything else on social media. You get sponsors when you got enough followers, or you get booked for concerts, opening dates. Okay, you come to town. You don't have to be good, but if you got numbers, if you can sell tickets, people in the seats, they'll book you. So because we were new, we couldn't get in the club. So he and I, we got a band together, got a set together, music we wanted to do. We started renting venues, and of course over the years, like the band members would change. You kind of, but if your integrity is there about I want to do good music and I want to respect you as an artist, I want you to respect me as an artist, and I'm going to book and pay you fair. And like in the beginning, I'd pay the band if I didn't get paid. I'd make sure that when you left there, as an audience had a good experience, the band got paid, and they knew Marc Evans did a good show. So then the next time, so 20 years later, I make sure I pay myself first. I pay myself as a business, the label first. I have an independent label and a small business. This is my music is my business. So I make sure that I paid myself first as business owner and booking manager, and then as performance artist. And then the bands are for hire. And I got my brothers that I've worked with for 20 plus years, and it's relationships. It's all about relationships. Like these are my friends. I call them my brothers in music. And you have changed over the years. I have guys who like Irv's been a staple for almost 30 years. Kevin Jackson a staple for 25 years. Chuck the Maddox. We have drummers and keyboard players.
Chuck.
Yeah, so we've been able to do this thing for a long time because of relationships, because of being if you treat people with respect and you pay them properly and you're upfront. There's no, I'm not shady. I'm not a shady cat. Like I said, I've never been driven by money. I just don't want to be taken advantage of. Like I don't have to have money. How much money I'm making up front? I'm like, is it going to be good music or is it some good? Are you going to? Am I going to be in the hole on this? I don't want to waste. I don't want to throw money at them. But I work for free if it makes sense. You cover studio time. If we got a good project, I'd rather have the product and make sure I got my piece, my name on, and my ownership of it. But the integrity of the work is so much more important, and that's from stage to studio. Would
you give up a portion of your publishing today for a deal?
If it makes sense, yeah. Because I learned that I had a hard time like giving up. Like I only get 20% of the song. I wrote all the song, but I brought it to you guys. He said, as a collective, the Motherfuckers was very honest and fair. Like everything we did, the 5 of us were in it. Like the Motherfuckers were 4 people, and whoever was part of that project for my album, I was the equal partner, and it was split 5 ways, everything equally. We all had to work hard for it. Even if it was your idea on that one song, but not on that song, you just kind of play bass on that song. You just kind of whatever. So I had to learn to share for the bigger picture. Like, I could have 100% my trunk sales, or I could have 20% of international sales in a catalog that's got me around the world. So I had to learn that. So I'm okay with publishing if it makes sense. And as I say, if we're not all winning in this thing, if it's just I'm not giving it away, just give it away. If we're giving it away, it's because it's a huge opportunity for a song placement or a movie thing or something like that. I don't mind sharing it if I know that it's good work. It's going to help move me forward in one way or another, and that there's a benefit in the long run for me.
Gotcha.
Then it's just an investment. It's not giving away or losing. I will invest some points to make sure the long game.
Okay, all right. You see it as a partnership. If it's going to be something lucrative, you're willing to share a portion of your publishing. Now, I spent a month in Japan. The second week I was homesick and I needed to find something to do. I was on tour. I was fortunate enough to go into the studio to see how studio apartment work, and these guys are amazing.
They are, man.
And I know that you work with them. Tell us about the experience working with studio apartment.
Man, that was amazing. I mean, my first time in Japan, it was my second time. I gone there in 2008. The year The Way You Love Me released. I went there to perform. I would do all these pop-up dates. I would literally every month I was in some country. I would leave my retail job Friday night. I'd go to the airport. I'd fly overseas, get in there Saturday morning, check into a hotel, do a sound check, do an interview, do a show Saturday night, and fly out on Sunday and be home Monday for work. I'd back over on Monday. For years. In my 30s, I could do it. 50's a little harder now, but I ain't scared to try. No, so I go. Everything was always a weekend. A pop in. I remember maybe spending. We do Saturday Italy, Sweden, Switzerland. We do a three city thing at the most. But so I went to Japan. I went there once for performance and came back home. I said, hey, come back and record with us. So they said, come on back, come do performance and spend a week here. So they had me in there for a week. I got to hang out, walk around Japan. And like feeling like Godzilla because I'm 6'2", I'm 300 pounds, and literally. Remember the band Big in Japan? There's a funk band out of the DMV called Big in Japan. I literally felt like it's a big black guy walking around with a bubble coat on with a hood. I was literally out there in my Parker. So yeah, it was cool. And I spent a week there, and ironically, they sent me a track prior to me coming. And for me, it's about the inspirations. I've listened to it. I had some ideas for songs, and listen. Now it's the day of recording, and I'm like, oh, I gotta write the song. I'm like, shoot, and I'm like, oh, I'm trying to force the song. I'm like, hold on. I'm like, whenever I go travel, I make sure that at some point I literally go walk the city in the evenings. I want to see and say I did not, because I was seeing the world by way of hotel and stage. I wasn't seeing. I've been to 25 countries, but I've probably only spent time in a handful of them. Really just got time to get out and see and enjoy the places. It was all work. So I was walking at nighttime in Japan, like any other place in the world, any other major city, there's poverty and homelessness. So when you walk at nighttime, you see the homeless people will sleep outside. There's a cardboard box. The shoes are outside the box. In the morning, that same strip, they clean up. They pick everything up. It's you can't tell anyone's there, but I was like, wow, this is real. It's still a real thing. So I was like, I'm like, oh, I'm like, oh, Serenity Prayer. So literally, I had to Google the Serenity Prayer in the hotel room. This is hours before the studio session. I'm like, oh, and I wrote the song called Serenity. Like, I want to walk in the light of understanding. Let your spirit guide me, I pray. So that I wrote it right before the session. But again, like it's about that moment of influence and inspiration. So the studio is small but pristine, and it was Masa and Abe, and they were just amazing. They were just doing we got to work together, and they played the stuff, and then I came back the following year and performed with them live at that big concert. It's, you can see it on YouTube. But no, it was cool. They were very, they had a translator. Saki was translating for them. They only spoke Japanese,
Right.
But it was amazing to spend time in Japan, a week there, and be a part of the culture. And it was really good. They're just so sharp, professional. They paid me for my work while I was there. It was good, and they've been fair ever since. And
Man, everything in Japan is small. The bathrooms, so I can imagine you had to duck just to get into the bathroom. Everything is small.
I guess they gave me the big American space. I felt okay when I was there. Give them
How do
big room.
How do you balance your personal life with your professional life? Because I get the sense you're a family man.
Yeah.
How do you balance that?
It is it's work. I mean, I'm a retail manager, so that's a requirement there. And I have an 8-year-old. He's trying to sleep right now. He's like, Dad. But so I mean, I have adult children and I have young children. But I made it a point. Even after in 2000, I got married. I remarried in 2011, and it was still hustling retail and music and traveling. And then when we got pregnant to have my seventh child, my son's my seventh. I have 3 older, 3 middle, and I have an 8-year-old. I made this whole point. I said I work so hard to provide. I missed a lot of stuff. So I said I don't want to miss anything else. I want to be only present. So I literally took a break from touring and traveling. I was still doing session work, studio stuff. I could be home, I could write and go back to work. But I made it a point to be present later on because I worked hard to provide, but I missed things, and I've worked really hard to mend those relationships. I'm like, showing, hey, look, I can't undo what I did before, but I'm still here for you. I'm still here with you, and I love you. And I did the stuff for you, but I do know that I missed some stuff. So, and I made it a point to make sure that this guy is with me almost all the time. If I'm not working, I'm a family thing, So yeah. But yeah, it's a balancing act. You have to be. My word is always intentional. I'm willing to, and my intention is to do my best to be the best person I can be right here, right now, and forward.
Beautiful.
Yeah. He's been to shows. He's been on stage before. They've come to concerts. All my kids have come. They've come to the cafe, Cup of Joe before. My kids during the earlier years. I've had this open mic in Baltimore for this is our 14th year, sharing the best local and foreign indie artists. So it's hip hop, soul, bluegrass, country. It's international. It comes through that same coffee shop, and we do the same thing.
Yeah, Marc, I'm gonna throw this out in the universe, man, because I would love to see you and Josh Milan do a recording together. I mean, that would be incredible, man. I gotta just pitch it, and I'm hoping that the universe will spread it and let it happen.
I love. He's a brother, amazingly talented. Our vibe was definitely very R&B, very soulful. He's a brilliant musician too. We've met over the years. We've talked over the years. We just have never made we talked about it, but never made it actual intentions. So I think you speaking it, and I'm gonna say it right now. I want to do something with Josh Milan in this next year. So
it could be like the James Ingram, Michael McDonald, John Moore be there, and you can market that because you're similar. You're both jazz fused, but different. But somehow, some way, you could camouflage you with. They think Josh is Marc, Marc is Josh, and you can make that. I see that happening.
It's cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did that with my work with Cherie Hicks was kind of like that. We did this thing together.
That was nice.
I literally met Cherie. We were chatting in a thread somewhere on Facebook. Someone said something about DJs, and maybe Jamie Lewis was talking about how he was going somewhere to meet somebody, and he's watching these young DJs. They were playing songs 15 minutes, 3 minutes, change it, minute and a half, change it. He's like, how do you get into a song if you're not playing the song? And there's someone in the thread oh my God, sis, I love your work. We started talking, and that led us to an off-thread conversation that led to I love what you do. and I was working with Tommy V in Italy. He sent this track. I'm like, all right, so I'm writing a song called "Inside the Groove," and I said, I would love to work with him. I'm gonna send the song to you, like, you know. So the song is, I don't know if you heard "Inside the Groove." You've heard, like, you know, there is hope, there is peace, there is joy, waiting here for you inside the groove. Come inside, have a seat, and enjoy. You can stay as long as you want to. You know, that's what the fact that music is very, very therapeutic and healing. So I did 2 verses in the chorus, sent it to Cherie Hicks, and she lays that thing just drop. I was like, oh, she's just so sweet. And I said, yo, we got to do this. We got to do this whole, like, this Roberta, like, there's no Tammy Terrell, Marvin, Roberta. Let's do this duet thing in house music. So, you know, we did the remake of Deja Vu and put a compilation together, and we worked together on a few things. And some things hit, some things didn't work out, and then we kept. Our careers kind of went back and forth. I still talk to her like every other week. That's my sister for real. But
that was a remote session, or you were in there together?
No, it was real. I recorded in Baltimore with Marc and Tommy sent me the track from Italy. I recorded my parts in Baltimore, and I sent her the track.
Oh, man.
And they were like, yeah, we don't really want, we want you. We don't want anybody else. I said, well, look, okay, all right. So I'm gonna produce. I'm gonna pay her out of my cut, but I'm gonna send it to you if you don't like it. Because I said either way, I'm gonna pay you either way. I said I'm just gonna do it. And if you don't like it, tell me you don't like it. Then I'll take it off and I'll finish it. They were like, okay, you were right. We'll take it. It's like, so if you look up inside Tommy V featuring Marc and Cherie, and then we did this project called Distant Souls, because like our whole thing was done from Chicago to Baltimore. Then I went to Baltimore. She came down here. I brought her down for some shows. I flew up there. We did the video and the parties. You know, so we've done a few things together. And that's my sis for real. She is such a beautiful spirit and amazing writer. So, and she's tied to Josh. They got some connections. You know, they got all this. So they worked together early.
Yeah. What do you love about the Baltimore scene, the house music scene?
It's just I guess house in general. Baltimore's house and clubs. So it's just very, very it's the rhythms are the Baltimore beats and the love is just it's genuine love. Like, you know, it's a no knucklehead environment. You can go to any house night anywhere you go. If Biscuit's playing or Koji or you know DJ Pope or at a plant, when you walk in, it's just love in the room. There's nothing but everything at the door. Like, no matter what, if you're a realtor in your own properties, you got big money. If you got a side hustle, if you a contractor and you get dirty, when you get in that spot, it's all love. We just dance and sweat and have a good time, and everybody hugs up and loves up. It's one of the most genuine spaces. In terms of genres of music as well, it's just genuinely a lot of love in that room.
How often did you do shows in New York?
A handful. Barbara Tucker had me up for an event years ago. I've done that's a BLISS I did with you. There've only been like something with Ndinga a couple of years ago, like literally less than a handful of times.
Gotcha.
I've done the world more than I've done the U.S.
What was the inspiration behind covering the Lou Ross track "You'll Never Find" with that was with Pope, right? Yeah.
We talked about it before with Motherfuckers, but Pope said, let's just do it. Like, you know, he said, I got an idea. I love that tune. I'd love to do it. We talked about it years ago. It never came together. So he worked together. And it was great because I grew up on that music. You know, that was my thing.
Yeah.
So, and that's my voice. I'm a baritone, so I could do it. So.
Yeah. So what's next? What's next for you?
I'm still writing, still recording. I'm working on the project right now with Steven Stone. We're finishing up some stuff we started a year before the pandemic. So I started some songs before the pandemic that I've been able to start tapping back into. I felt comfortable going back in the studio. So, shared spaces. I've got songs with Jamie Lewis tunes coming out. I've got songs I'm working on with a few other producers. So I mean, the next thing is just really getting my live performances back up, because that's my bread and butter. My heart is being able to perform and share, you know, in my community. So Baltimore plays a return this year. We're working on bringing back our 80s, 90s show. We did like everything from like Euro pop to like hip hop and hair bands. We did it a few years ago before the pandemic, and wanted to bring it back, run that whole thing back. Our series of featuring local artists on iconic works of music. So just performing, curating shows again. That's my thing.
Gotcha. You plan on touring?
I told them I'm ready. I'm vaxxed and boosted, and my passport's ready. So when it's safe to go back out, I'm ready to go. You know, all my regular spots, my regular clients. Like, I mean, not a lot's happened. A few things happening, but I'm trying. You know, my regular clients are waiting for the okay to bring it back through. So I'm ready. I'm so ready.
Other than Josh, who are some other artists you would like to work with?
What's this? Sean Escaffery?
Sean Escoffier, Space Rider.
I love that dude. I like to work with Kenny Bobian. I've always just dug his vibe and his sound. Like, it's just pure. But then like producers like, more work with Jamie Lewis. I like to work with real people.
Real people, yeah, they do.
Yeah. Copyright. Cats I met over the years that just do really, really good music. I like to work in the studio apartment again. And Defected, like, whether it's with Simon directly or with like, that whole squad, that they have a great connection, great network of producers and artists. That's just like to get a direct shot to work with them. Like, we talked about it before we was having next make it happen. I've talked to Simon about the possibility of doing some stuff together again, so I'm up for it.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that Defected didn't just work with you directly after Code Red, because you have such a marketing, brand as an artist,
Yeah. I don't
probably wasn't the time.
I think that's what it was. Yeah, we talked years later about the possibilities. So,
I got you.
Yeah.
Family, any questions for Marc?
Yes.
Go ahead, Sandy.
No, I gotta get my mic off. Thank you for
raising her hand again.
Thank you for all the verses you gave us tonight. Can you give us some of the Way You Love Me?
Oh, sure. Each morning when I see your face, I truly believe this is the place I'm supposed to be, 'cause you love me. Give me reason to come straight home from your love, and I can never roam, 'cause you love me. You really love me. I'm loving the way that you love me. I'm loving, I'm loving.
Nice.
Nice. Thank you.
It's Marc Evans, y'all.
So I heard you when you talked about your first experience and with that particular project and the outcome and the sacrifice, but the benefit. And then I heard Paul's question, and your response was basically, if you could know then what you know now, you may have held out a little longer. As an artist, understanding that whole concept with the word relevance, I think what you got from that project was just that, and that was priceless.
I'm grateful, indeed.
That was priceless. So I don't know what the outcome could have been had you held out, but I tell you something, that song is like ingrained in me, and I didn't even know you then.
I know for a fact.
You and I are down at Peace and Cup of Joe. I don't even know that you're you, and yeah. So I think that what you got from that was something that could never, ever put a price tag on. So then my question becomes, knowing all of that, up and coming artist, green, fresh, wants the same thing we wanted when we first got here. Opportunity looks a whole lot different now than it did then. What are two things that you would say to that person to get them going?
Do your best to learn as much as you can legally about how to protect your work. So that's the biggest thing. So, in terms of copywriting, registering, getting your paperwork in order. Because, once it's yours, you own it. Then if they want it, they'll pay for it. They'll come to you for it. And just I'd say do your best to make sure that you are, if you want to be an artist, make sure that you are accessible. So invest in the branding, the web presence, because it's very important to have that presence for, not to be an artist, but to be an artist, a recording artist, and to grow. Like I just put my website up like last fall. I've been wanting a site. I paid two developers, and it took me 10 years to get it. You know, so I know I've missed opportunities, but I mean, and again, like I'm not beating myself over old things.
Right.
But I just know that there's an opportunity in being professional and being ready. You know,
Right.
they always say stay ready. So you ain't got to get ready, but yeah, man, just get your ducks in a row. Know the business. Like, you know, I wish if I'd known back then, even. Like, you know, I can't change. I don't want to change stuff. I just know that the things that I wish I'd known then in terms of how to negotiate my business,
Right.
you know, because I could still, I believe that I could have still moved the way that I've been able to do things, but I would have had more knowledge and more control or understanding of what to expect and how to protect myself in that process. I'm like, no, because if the song is hot, they want it. They clearly wanted the song. And me work with me. So I don't have to like to be a diva, but I want to make sure you gotta respect me and take care of me because I want longevity. You know,
Right.
I got longevity because I worked for it, not because they you know, because they dropped me and like that. But literally, I'm not working with the people I used to work with anymore, and they still work. You know, and sometimes the industry they use you up, and they go to the next artist. You know, you said that they artists. You know, so where are they now? Like, you know, and if you're really an artist,
Unsung.
yeah, you know. And the real artists, you know, I'm like, I usually mention unsung. The fact that Freddie Jackson had more hits than Luther, I was like, wow. I was like, that was big, right? You know,
Come on.
you know, it's just the reality. Like, you know, and he's still working. Like, you know, you can there are highs and lows, but when it's your passion, your heart, commit to it, and yeah, treat yourself with the respect and professionalism as you deserve.
Yes. Thank you.
Very nice.
Mark, what other song on your catalog would you say was the follow-up song to The Way You Love Me? You know, because, you know, it's that industry jinx is your first song that you ever come out with because it's a hit.
Yeah.
It comes out. It's like, it's hard to top that. We've been told that.
And it's really fun. I don't know what has been Until You was pretty big with Ndinga later on. That was a different album. From that album, let me look at the album and see. It was the Way You Love Me was pretty big. That was the starter. Giving Me Joy. Giving Me Joy was a good one to follow up because it was the original version, and then the Lovebird Suite remix that with all the ambiance. I Don't Want You Anymore was the second single I did. I did those two songs before the album came together. Where You Love Me and because they were like, you know, they were just almost like opposing because they were different ends of the spectrum. One was out madly in love, one was it's over and I'm done with you. Like, you know, and ironically, it's really funny because I didn't remember that there was a Teddy Pendergrass song and that same hook. You know, is it called I Don't Want You Anymore? It's not what it's called. But like, you know, I didn't
Yes,
like
that's it.
Yeah,
that's it.
Right. It was written. Somebody said remake. I'm like, I don't love you anymore. It's that simple. Like, I didn't recognize that as being a similar hook. Someone said remake. I'm like, no, I wrote the whole song. I wrote that. But again, it was Spence idea to use that hook, that idea, that cadence and that tempo. But like, you know, my song was about like me going through my divorce and like, you know, that was literally. But that was the second song. But it was as passionate and it was honest and it was passionate. So those were the first two that got me out. Like my first time going out performing was 2005 at this Southport Soul Weekend there, and I'd never been out before. So and I did those two songs and a bit of Luther, Glow of Love in the middle is a little segue to it. So
yeah. From one lockster to another lockster, how come you cut your locks?
They got thinner here, and I figured I would instead of chasing them, you know, brother, you know, I didn't want to be holding on to them when they down in my butt.
I got the same syndrome. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Let me go ahead. And I work in beauty and hair care, and I was let me just focus on getting my scalp together so I can keep what I have for as long as possible. So I got my little Corley naturals. I'm gonna rock that for as long as I can.
Woo woo.
Yeah. I couldn't. Same thing. I couldn't have that predator look, you know, with the sides and everything missing on
Y'all
top.
are funny. Vanity on the men's tip. Oh boy.
Look at DJ Predator.
All respect to I love Stevie Wonder.
Stevie.
All respect too. All respect too. But like I'm you know, I figure. I ain't gonna say that. I'm say, you know, I just feel like that'd be a funny joke, though. I just figure like somebody should maybe Maybe it's a Samson thing. I don't know. I just.
Oh,
But no,
That's
all due
too funny.
respect, he's highly influential. Stevie Wonder is a writer and vocalist. All respect, all jokes aside, like I didn't want to be a brother holding on to the dream when the dream was running away from me.
the dream was open,
Yeah, he was like,
Yeah,
I ain't gonna be chasing the dream. He's like,
all
"Look at that."
exposed.
Yeah,
yeah,
right,
yeah.
right.
I knew there was one question I forgot to ask. We did talk about your strength as a songwriter. As you know, we see many artists who were great at performing, great at recording,
Mhm.
but songwriting wasn't really their strength. Like we look at Michael Jackson, we know that if it wasn't for Rod Temperton, there would be no Thriller without Quincy. It's
Mhm.
clear that he needs songwriters in order to get
Mhm.
those hits. Do you feel your strength is more in songwriting or as a singer?
Oh, I mean, that's a really good question. 'Cause I've said it for years. Like I feel like I'm a good writer, but I could perform far beyond my writing at this point. Like
Mm-hmm.
because I've done so much. With top 40 bands, I've got this huge range. Like I've done every kind of music. Like when you work with top 40 agency bands, you've got to sing whatever's hot on the radio. And I know that I have
Right.
range and dynamics, and I can do all these different things. But I write typically from what I hear, what I've lived. But I could sing other songs. I just don't want to always sing. I don't want to always sing their stories, but I've definitely been inspired by and hurt myself. Like, wow, I can do that in that song. Like, I've got a song I
Yeah.
recorded some years ago with some other writers, and I ended up being a co-writer on it. But I said because I had to rearrange it, but it was a beautiful song. It's not been released yet. It's probably one of the most beautiful songs and deepest songs I've recorded that no one's ever heard. It was a production out of the UK that was moving to Singapore, and then some stuff fell apart with it. But we recorded this song. I'm gonna send it to Carolyn. I'll send it to you guys. It's off the record. I won't say who it was, whatever. But it's a beautiful song. It's a powerful song, and you hear those elements of where I learned from like Michael McDonald, those elements of I drew from those soul legends like Blue Eyed, Brown Eyed, Black, everybody. But you can hear the stuff that I've been able to do, and that's one song that never got released, and I almost did on one of the albums I did with Quantize, spending time redo label. But the guys who were didn't want to let it go. They said we'll do it ourselves, and it never happened. And I'm kind of happy. It may have gotten lost in that whole thing. I'd rather have it be somewhere different, just for new energy.
That description, I'm sorry, that description that you just gave is what we see when we're down at the poetry night with you and the small band. What's the name of the band again?
It's called the Big Little Band.
The Big Little Band.
Mm-hmm.
So what you just described is exactly what you guys do. It's like you guys are a DJ and you got 10,000 songs going for the night, but you're singing all of them. I don't know how y'all do it, but it is so amazing. And that's the description, what you just said.
And that was the whole idea. That name was intentional because like when we started, it's a guitar player, a beatboxer, and me.
Chuck is just crazy. Chuck is crazy.
Like I'll do vocal bass while he the guitar solos, but once you guys know music, when we sing it, you feel and hear everything. I'll sing as much as I can sing, but I got range, I could do stuff. But we literally create those moments. You were in that song. If we do Earth and Fire, and it's just three of us, you hear and feel Earth and Fire.
It's amazing.
Nice. Marc, anything we left out that you would like to promote or talk about?
I mean, I say, look, if you love my music, you can find me two different ways. You can find me as Marc with a C, Marc Evans. You'll find my house catalog on all stream like Apple Music. You can go to TrackSource and find my whole house catalog or Beatport. But if you go with Marc A. Evans, you'll find my indie, my neo soul stuff. Like I've got two albums on CD Baby. They're on Apple Music as well. It's called Intervention, and it's the first 7 years. There's also a live and acoustic CD. But I have my down tempo stuff is some interventions from my most honest writing, and then my best writing was definitely on The Way You Love Me. That was when I was really in the zone as a writer. I felt like I was really being a writer at that time. So the songs I wrote there, I was very intensely. I was an artist, and I was in my artist thing. But just find me. I'm on social media, Marc Avon Evans Music on Facebook, and Marc Avon Evans Pics, PIX on Instagram. I haven't gotten a TikTok yet. I think I'm okay with letting I can't do it all. I can't.
Twitch. I mean, what's that other thing?
Yeah, it's Twitch and it's Snapchat.
No,
and
not
Twitter.
no. Twitter. That's the one.
Yeah, I have one for the page. I just don't use it as much as I used to. I share my events to it.
Yeah, I'm lost with that.
Yeah, Paul. My neo soul stuff and intervention is totally a neo soul album. It's elements of hip hop and it has a hidden rock track on there, a little bit of everything. But it's all those elements. Like I got MCs on it as well. So yeah.
Awesome. We got Mark Evans, y'all. Mark, thank you for stopping by, man. My brother, nothing but blessings for you.
Yes.
You know, your career, your voice, you know, your spirit. You know, massive blessings to you, man. You know, it's always been a pleasure working with you. We worked in the past, and you know, I just want to say that again. I want to thank you again for your contributions, man. You know,
thank you. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for bringing me in, letting me share, and it's good to see your faces, and I look forward to having you guys.
You
too.
You.
Yeah.
Good to see you too.
Peace, Paul.
Mark Evans.
Mark Evans. Woo! Yes.
Thank you so much, family. Thank you for tuning in to Bliss on the Spot. We got Deuce Martinez stopping by on February 24th, so please join us here at 8 p.m.
Cool. Tell Deuce I said what's up. I'll tune in.
Yeah, no doubt. Mark, thanks again for stopping by, man. Stay safe.
Bliss NYC loves you.
No doubt. Thanks, appreciate you.
I'm Will Milton.
Ricoh Scott.
Sandy Paradiselady.
Carolyn Victorian.
And we're signing off. Everyone be safe. Thank you.
Be safe.
Shrimp and grits, Mark. Shrimp and grits.